Well, so first thing I did was I used this technique called photogrammetry to 3D scan the shoe or the shape, because I knew that I needed the last that goes inside, that is going to fit and is going to fill up all the holes and is going to mark really good this bottom edge, because that's kind of really important, and it's also going to define the shape and the curve of the shoe. So if you don't have a good last, maybe you should not try with a normal one, otherwise your shoe is going to get deformed and the rubber is not going to stick as it is supposed to. So use this technique, it's photogrammetry. You take pictures all around the object in different angles. You make around 50 pictures for the software I use. You put it in the software and it's giving you a rough 3D model of the shoe. Then what happened is that I clean the model, I fix it, and then I remodel it into a last I thought it's going to fit in there. I redo it, and then finally took that 3D model and printed it. And this was not the result, this is the second result, but this is basically it. I printed it in 2 parts. This came up like this, and then the other side came up like that. Just stick them together. My first try didn't come out as good. You can see there is a lot of this filler in here that I used to really fill up the shoe. The last was too small, and then it was not really filling up the inside of the shoe, and that made it problematic because the rubber was not bending in the front like it's supposed to. So what I did was took the 3D printed part and started filling it up where I felt there was a gap. I put it inside and then I just squeezed and where I found a gap, where I felt a gap, then I went over and put some filler in that area until I got a nice result. Once it was done, I tried to mark all the extra material I put in there. I tried to measure the curves and all the modifications I made, and went over to my 3D model and modified, printed this. They are not exactly the same, but the result was okay. As you can see, I didn't print it with the best quality. It's just like made the fastest printer was cool, because I mean, who wants to spend time on these to put it inside and then it's not fitting, right? So that's it for the 3D model. Just a matter of putting it inside. It is going to take some force, but once it's already inside, you can work with your shoe. I recorded this afterwards. This is already the result that we're going to get. But before this, the tip was already completely chewed up and gone. I'll show you a little bit on the computer how I made that model. I'll show you the 3D model of the result of the photogrammetry. Let me look for it. Okay, so these are the pictures that I made of the shoe. I used another shoe because I have 2 shoes and this one was already fucked up. So as you can see, the pictures are just going around in different angles. I try to use a good camera and make the pictures with the background a bit blurry, so the subject is clear and the program can recognize it. Well, this was kind of the model I got from that program. There's different programs you can use. I use one called 3ds Sphere free. From that program I got this 3D model. It was kind of dirty. I had to clean it to remove the textures, to soften it and to make it a bit lighter to be able to work with it in another program. I use Blender because it is nice with the meshes, and this was the result. Afterwards I went to Rhino. I took the 3D model, I put it in here, and then I traced a network of curves in which then I made some surfaces, close them, and basically that was it for the 3D model. I sent it to print. Next thing I did was I took a piece of paper, I traced around the shoe, and then made a small offset of like 1 centimeter to create this thing that later I'm going to use for the rubber. I place it here where it's supposed to go, and then with a pen I mark a line in here just as a reference to know where I'm going to stick it later. I also bended this around 1 inch 1/4, that is more like 3 centimeters, something like that. I don't know, 1, 2, 3 centimeters, 3.5, and then I mark another line in here. So in between those lines, that's where I'm going to be sanding and cutting. This is already done. I'm just showing you afterwards because I forgot to record this part. I think, well, I had these 2 lines, one in here and one in here, right? What happened was that I used some pliers to lift all around the tip, but just until the first line. I left the second one untouched, and I just removed the plastic manually, the rubber manually, until the first line, and then when I reached this part, when I reached the part when I was unsticking it, I use a cutter and just slice that part out. Next step was to put this sander. I just sand really smoothly in the shape of a ramp from the leftover shoe, from the leftover rubber to the front, so I can stick the next one over it. As you can see, I already traced a line in there. This line indicates just where the new rubber is going to start. So next step, we're going to take this shape, put it in here, trace it around, and then cut it. Then you cut it. Once it's cut, I think this is going to be useful. I skive or remove some material from the edge, so when this thing bends over the shoe, it's a little bit easier to bend it over it. And yet we're going to take our handy 50 grit sandpaper, roll it, and sand this just a little bit to make some marks where the glue can go in, and also sand a little bit here around where it's going to glue. So it is important to also scratch in this area because that's where the rubber that is going to bend is going to glue. So don't forget also to just sand a little bit in there. So as I said, we're going to cut out this edge. I tried to print a tool that I can use to cut it, but it doesn't really work because the program is really sticky. So just going to do it by hand. That's it. Well, now we're ready for gluing. I'm using contact cement, this brand. I guess you can find another brand wherever you are, but this is working for me. Going to apply a nice layer over everything, also considering the sides here and also here, all the way to my line and everywhere around. Now this thing has to dry first so you can stick it, so we're not really in a hurry, but if you are not fast it does start drying and you cannot apply it nicely. Yeah. There are some brands of glue that you need to heat before sticking it. Some others that you need to put more glue even before sticking, but that depends on what you're using. This one is saying just apply once, let dry, and then stick. I'm going to do the next one. So I'm going to show you the setup. This is kind of basic stuff that I use to get a good resoling. And well, first thing I'm going to do is going to put the rubber inside this small oven. It's just 100 degrees. I'm going to let them there for 1 minute and then take them out, stick them, and then go to the press. I will show you this in a second. It is not necessary to heat the glue. Well, it depends on which glue you're using. The one that I'm using is not necessary, but not now. But depending on the glue you're using, you may have to either heat it at a certain temperature or put more. I'm just doing this because I think it's softening the vibram a bit, so it's bending better around the shoe. Okay, so taking them out of there, sticking them to the shoe, and after that I'm going to put it in this press. This is just a wooden box. There's nothing special about it. It's just 4 sides, no top, no bottom, and this is where the shoe is going to enter. I'm putting something inside, so it's not going to, there's something on the bottom. And what is happening is that I put this towel with 2 pieces of foam inside. I put it over here, a little bit past the edge. That's the edge of the box, and then it just pass a little bit on this side. And what I'm going to do is to put the shoe in here with the new rubber, and then just compress it in here using some clamps and this piece of wood that is going to be pressing the shoe from the top and just driving it into the box. Okay, so take it out of the oven, was there for 1 minute, and I had a line in there. Just going to check the top, that is nice, and just stick it and just warming it up help a bit with the bending on the front and the top here. Press it and pause. So now that it's in there, just going to keep it inside for some minutes. So I don't really know why they are doing that, but I mean that's how they do it industrially, so why not? Just going inside the wooden box, and all the foam and towels are like pressing a bit from all the sides. I'm using this to press the shoe evenly, and there's the two clamps that are keeping this in place. Okay, so it's been there already for around 5 minutes. We're going to take it out. Just smash a little bit on the sides to get it completely stick. And now you can see how it stick itself, but it's not perfect, so we're just going to smash around to get it completely stick. I'm starting to think that clamping it in there is not doing much, but you never know. I'll just keep doing it. No, because of the glue, drying is not a bad thing. We still can put it where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now you just have to also make sure that it's stick good in the bottom and all around. Can either hit, or we can also press and check that there are no gaps anywhere around the new sole. So if you wonder who told me how to do that, I just kind of made it up by watching some YouTube videos. So I'll link some of the videos in there, and that's basically it. We're going to do the other shoe. Not being repetitive, we quickly listen. Or it is like going. Yeah, there's some gaps in there, and we can just stick them with the hammer.
think it's helping a bit to keep it clamped in there for some minutes, because before when I tried to stick all the way to the top, I wasn't able to do it. So I think somehow shaping it, and then it's a bit easier to bend in here. Couldn't do it there. I have to deal with that later, so you don't have to go here. Fucking well, that is a problem like this. I'm going to put some right now, just shove it in there and try to stick it. But now at least we don't have any tabs in front or in the sides, and that's good. There's just possibilities to bend or the tip.
Okay, so if you notice, this is why we remove some edge from the rubber, so you can bend it around. It's making it easier for the material to go over it. So next step, we have to cut the leftover here all around, but leave some extra so you can sand it evenly after this. There it is. Okay, and then when we sand this, we're going to make it prettier, and also using some thinner, we're going to remove the excess glue. I'll do the same for the next one. And that's it. Same as this one. We're going to sand around, clean with some thinner, and also all this we have to remove it and make it so it looks like one piece. We make like a ramp, so when we stick it there is more surface area here that is going to keep it in place. If we just put one piece in here and the other one here, when you bend your feet that may open, so better to do it this way and then remove all this material. Now we're just going to remove the leftover material and make it pretty. So this one is almost done. Well, almost. The problem is that in here on the sides I think it's already nice, just in the bottom because there is so much material you have to remove. It's kind of difficult. I already spent like 1 hour or something like that just sanding and sanding and sanding, and I'm not done yet, so I'm really getting tired of this. I think for the next one what I did was I used a bread knife or a normal knife, and then I just remove as much material as I was able to, and I tried to do it as flat as possible so I don't have to sand so much. Hopefully this one is going to take me a bit less time, but here it is now. I'll show you when it's done. It is the next day and I almost finished. grinding the excess rubber. I tried to make it really pretty. It's just this bottom part that I wasn't really able to, yeah, to make it super clean. You still can see the mark where where the vibram is ending and the other one starting. Kind of tricky. I don't have the correct equipment, but I think I did a decent job all around the edges. Just need to clean the glue. And yes, and also what I did was I'll show you. I took the trusty sandpaper roll that we made before and just made this a bit nicer, more even, and also because of the rubber it's melting when you sand it with the machine. You have to kind of make again some scratches so it's more sticky in there. I just went all around it, and now I'll see if I can get rid of these marks and clean the glue. I already tried using thinner, but it was stupid, didn't work. It's just like too difficult to remove. So what I did now was I took the trusty Dremel with a polishing wheel and just went all around in the seam, and that worked really well. All the glue spots just got removed, and again I sand a little bit to make some scratch marks and not have any melted material. The bottom I wasn't able to really fix that. That's the best I was able to get, and also I used this guy to remove some. The problem is that the vibram is so sticky that it's just like sticking back into the rubber. Cannot remove it very well, but I mean, I'm not using this part. Nope, it's good enough. So, in general, it is a bit time consuming. I will not really recommend doing this unless you're going to do it 10, 20 times, because then, for example, I had to invest on that bench grinder and the grinding wheel. I also had to buy like this this rubber that came in a sheet like 40 by 30, and that was, I don't know, $80, something around that. Um, it is a little bit labor consuming. I mean, because you have to sand a lot and cut a lot, make those cheeks, and then you risk that it's not coming up really good. It's a fun project. I think I'm going to keep doing it, but if you're thinking about just doing it once, just for trying, maybe just try sending them to someone that knows what he's doing, because it is going to be really, really time consuming. So that was it. Thanks.
All will replace it. Here's your monthly bike hunt report.
Yeah, let's go.
It all started when Drumroad PR director Caroline put her bike on charge after work one day in the safety of her hallway. But she woke to find the bike and her charger had been stolen from inside her house. Quite the find for a thief. Filled with injustice, Caroline and her PR partner Barry